Alright, because it's a pyrrho response video, we'll see how it goes. I'll just do it in pieces. It's probably just going to be lie after lie after lie, because that's all this guy can do is just lie, 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 lie.
I mean, we all scan videos. I don't think he's...
Yeah, so I don't scan videos. I watch videos. I play the videos. Most cases, I play the person's video, respond to what they're saying. Obviously, your videos are just going to be a constant stream of lies and would take forever because every sentence coming out of your mouth is just a big, fat fucking lie.
Gary notices everything I've said. I've said a lot of things he's never answered. And you can know he probably...
Yeah, whatever. Again, this claim of the unsaid bullshit. That's right. I've only been here for years, sitting here saying, go ahead, make me a video. Go ahead, make an accusation. Go ahead, I'll respond. I'll respond. There's absolutely no evasion of the videos. There's absolutely no indication that I'm running away from playing somebody's video if they're actually going to make a coherent point. But your videos are just long, boring lie. Lie, lie, lie. Just make up fucking stories that have anything to do with the goddamn truth.
The part I didn't watch. Fine, that's why I don't whine and bitch about this aspect of it.
Yeah, because you are the liar. So obviously, what do you got to bitch about? I don't sit there and lie about your position, you liar.
But I've watched many hours of Gary's videos on science for years and years. The first time he ever blocked me was because...
Here comes a big lie.
He was saying that...
So let's understand the context here. So even if this was true, which it's not, but even if it was, so he's going to drag up something I said, say, 10 years ago or 8 years ago, whatever it was, and then talk about in the context of what I have introduced, which is an entirely new theory, a unification theory over the last 3 years. So instead of paying attention to what that says, he's now going to change the subject to something that has nothing to do with this subject. But again, it's a lie, so it doesn't really matter anyway, because what he's saying is obviously stupid, and you can understand how stupid it is by just understanding my position now and how incompatible it would have been with any position I've ever held in my life.
If something could go twice the speed of light, like...
Right, I have never made such a point. I have never would argue for any such point ever. I've always stated that light has to travel at a certain speed and it never has momentum. Ask Hoffladay. Hoffladay knows from years ago we had the argument about redshift, and my whole argument was that light is dumped out of the car. It isn't pushed out, it's dumped. It has its speed. It doesn't have any momentum from the thing that's dumping it. So wherever light exists, it doesn't matter how fast the thing that produces the light is moving. The light can't go any faster and it can't go sideways. Unlike in your relativity nonsense where you start talking about trains and shining light back and forth. Because that could never frickin' happen, retards.
The spaceship was traveling away at a certain speed. You know, that everything adds up, and there was an answer.
No, there was no everything adds up. The point is that if I'm holding a flashlight and I'm moving the speed of light, I can't shoot light out of my flashlight. And if I'm moving half the speed of light, I still can't shoot light out of my flashlight. The best I might be able to do is radio waves, but I'm not going to be able to shoot anything that can move any faster than I'm moving. So if I'm going at half the speed of light, whatever I'm going to shoot ahead of me is only going to leave where I am, okay, it's going to leave at the speed of light, and I'm going to be moving half its speed. So it's not going to be the same distance away from me if I was standing still.
And then you backed off of the fact that there was an absolute reference frame.
No, I never backed off anything. There's always been an absolute. I've never backed off. Where's the evidence I backed off? Where? I've always never believed that there's any such thing as any dimension or any fucking goddamn change in anything or any boom, you go through some sort of change in frames. No, never, ever, ever. So just lie, lie, lie.
There is no absolute reference frame.
Says you, and you're wrong, and you're stupid.
When I was in college, I had to do the Michelson-Morley.
Who cares? It's Michelson, idiot, so you can't even say it right. It's Michelson-Morley, not Michelson-Morley, but who the fuck cares about that, right? None of these details are important, and that experiment has to do with ether. It doesn't have to do with the speed of light, and obviously you can't detect how fast the light's going if your emitter and your receiver are moving. The mirror, the emitter, the receiver are all moving. You can't detect anything. You can't detect a change that way. One of them has to be in the nothing frame.
Experiment. And it convinced me that there is no...
Well, because you're stupid.
...at rest reference frame.
At rest reference frame. I don't believe in that because, yeah, everything is, the universe is built into a bunch of little invisible walls between all the invisible frames where we get to all be doing something completely different, and there's no constant then. There's no constant. Anyway, we already know, look, the implications of their stupid warped space are idiotic paradoxes like you could watch somebody die and then watch them be born. That kind of nonsense, and that's the kind of silly world that they think reality is. So anyway, I will play some of this, more of this shit, see if I can get through 5 minutes of it and come back again. But what a pile of shit. Alright, 6 minutes in, and he hasn't made a single cogent remark related to a single thing that's in the substance of my unification theory. He says something, a vague reference to the fact that I said my arguments, my new mechanism will fit most of the existing math. And I stand by that. I've obviously pointed out the places where it won't fit. It won't fit lensing, because that's bullshit. Light doesn't have any dimensional mass, okay, except in the direction it's going. And clearly in the direction it's going, or leaving, obviously in those dimensions it can't gain any acceleration. It doesn't go faster into a gravity well, for example. So clearly it's not affected by force at all. Good reason to believe that is, yes, it travels way across the whole freaking universe and it's still in one piece when it gets here. You know, it's kind of obvious. It's not getting pulled apart by gravitational fields. Anyway, but yes, when I said most of the math, I mean most of the math. Some of the math, bullshit. The math that relates to the two-slit experiment is just convenient to that experiment. It doesn't really relate. You know, your argument that two-slit math relates to all these other elements, it doesn't. The formulas change for each circumstance. And if you want me to have Feynman quote Feynman saying that, I mean, when you're doing pieces of glass, it's different. They all have different reflective indexes. There's always differences in the formula that have to be specific to the thing you're judging the likelihood of. So there's no standard math here.
And the flexibility of the brain allows us to figure it could get.
I mean, you see, I don't know. He's talking about the brain now. So yeah, so he says he doesn't find my description of the field unification as at all compelling, and he doesn't like the fish metaphor. That's all we get for the example. Like somehow, it doesn't explain velocity and inertia? I think it does. But anyway, and then he says he doesn't think the foundational laws of the universe relate to common sense. He doesn't, you know, again, for what reason? Why should they not relate to what common sense is usually good reasoning? Good reasoning can be put in the category of a property of common sense, actually. Common sense doesn't mean stupid sense. It means, yeah, you're likely on the right course.
And I'm not one of these people that believe that, well, just because of the size of the brain, you'll never figure it. No, it's metaphors. There's keys to this to understand it better. We know that already.
Well, you say you know something already, and what I'm saying is everything you think you know, push versus pull, wave versus particle, you know, in every one of these questions, you have the wrong answer. Dimensions, 3 dimensions versus however many you want to make up. time bending, space bending, versus forces, and versus time just being a function.
Right, let's say that the way the Earth was discovered to be round was somebody...
So again, this has something to do with my theory, apparently.
He walked and boated all the way around it. They just went in one direction all the time. They could tell from the sun and the stars. They kept going in one direction, and then, holy fuck, I'm back home. Then he has to have a theory. Does his home exist? Copies of it? No, I mean, how could that be? Well, and he would, one theory.
Yeah, right. And your theory is Huygens in the single slit, no Huygens in the double slit. That's your theory. Crap. A principle that isn't a principle. Yeah, got it.
It could be, it's a circle and wrapped around. That would be evidence for that theory. But I don't find these colored arrows. And you say things...
Yeah, polarized. That's right. These two kinds of polarization. Yeah, you don't understand the concept that somehow something could have a different effect on something because it's a different thing. And the different thing might attract one thing and might repel something else. Oh, that's not... I can't understand that. I can't understand it. Can't understand Frisbee going this way hitting the bars and Frisbee going this way going through the bars. Oh, too complicated.
Like, what did you say? I didn't put this in my notes.
Yeah, you didn't put anything in your notes, but you don't watch the videos, you don't pay attention. It's clear, it's obvious, you don't even understand the metaphors, their use, their context, their depth, how much they're supposed to cover. You just have no idea what's going on here at all. So anyway, we'll play some more of this and come back. But this is, waste of time video. 7 minutes in, he hasn't said a damn thing that could mean anything to me. Oh dear. Yeah, had a bit of a camera failure. So yeah, I actually played the rest of his entire video, and it's probably best that the camera whatever failed. And so, because it would have been another hour, and most of it would have been just absolutely pointless because he's never on the subject. Doesn't say a damn thing relevant to a damn thing I've said. So I guess I would do these comments first because they're just so bad. So the Nicky Tech guy is usually a guy on my side. So let's see. The truth comes out. You don't watch the whole video. This is akin to only read a paragraph or two and carefully construct scientific research paper. If the two-slit is baby steps, then why is it still mysterious to you? Get your story straight. Well, his story will never be straight. 1 minute it's diffraction, the next minute it's interference. The 1 minute, yes, you need Huygens because it's interference. It's a real thing that's happening in the single slit. Next minute, no, it's not real. It's completely different causes. It's diffraction with the diffractor mechanism. Everybody knows the difference is the diffractor mechanism kicks in at low speeds, and at high speeds the interference mechanism kicks in, and everybody knows that. It's like a gear shift on a bicycle. Or something. Maybe. It doesn't make. It's incoherent babble. Alright, so this McCool CS guy. I will just read his comments for posterity. Because yes, of all the people that need to have their graves pissed on, this guy needs to be on the top of the list. A shit-talking troll fucker who hasn't made a single reasonable argument. Ever. Anyway, these videos are so satisfying. Okay, so you are satisfied because Pyrrho wasted time talking about, well look, if I put an 8 in a box and then I have a 2 in a box and the 2 is crookedy or it falls over, that's the same as multiplying times 1 divided by pi sci-fi. Right? That has something to do with what I'm arguing. Oh, so you're satisfied. He makes a preposterously irrelevant, obtuse, insensible argument, and you're satisfied. You really are a stupid fucker. Still waiting on Emendam's response to what? For how it is not just photons. Okay, waiting for Emendam's response for how it's not just photons that have wave-particle duality. What response do I need to have? Electrons. I keep saying the word electrons. Now, if you push an electron into an electron, what happens? The other electron will move. So electrons will cause exactly the same thing, because you will accelerate the other electron. The other electron will emit whatever it needs to. But certainly electrons can only move through the two-slit experiment, right? If you have a charge field. Otherwise, they're already going to be scattered as they're going through the two slits. Electrons don't fly straight, newsflash. Unless you force them to, they inherently don't fly straight. So, I'm dubious. There. And then buckyballs. So let's go find it. Why don't you show me the link to the buckyball experiment? Because I'd love to see how they shoot them in the first place. That would be interesting enough. And I'll bet you the pattern is really weak. Because, yes, the buckyballs have to hit the electrons. Oh, man, you're really dumb. But every elemental particle as well as atoms and small molecules. So again, what argument have I made stating that I don't think electrons can affect atoms? Because of course they can. They just don't affect them as much. But if you're saying you get a precise and clean pattern with buckyballs, I don't believe you. And clearly I don't believe that you're sending buckyballs at a frequency. So explain to me exactly how you're sending the buckyballs at anything called a frequency. You know, besides shooting them like a machine gun. Because they don't have a frequency. I'm just letting you know that, by the way. I mean, they make one up for electrons. And they call it, you know, velocity. They call that frequency, which is really silly. But you really can't do that for buckyballs. So you have to actually shoot buckyballs. Alright, he ignored your video. Where did I do that? Where did I ignore anything in Pyrrho's video? Please, somebody, write it in bold text. Comment on my video somewhere. The part of Pyrrho's video that I didn't respond to, where he made some critical point that I missed. And then I'll just point out all the times I've pointed out something that Pyrrho hasn't responded to. Like why in water waves there's no interference pattern in the single slit. Okay, he ignored your videos and my comments about it months ago. Well, you're still griping, and it still means absolutely nothing, because I have responded to it. There's nothing to respond to. There's nothing to see here. You explain to me why you don't use Huygens in the double slit experiment. And then why don't you show me the two-slit math that actually duplicates the pattern? Why don't you show me the two-slit math that predicts how many bars there's going to be? Why don't you do any of that? Oh, that's right, because you can't, because your math doesn't work. I'm really curious as to what excuse he'll come up with this time. I know what your excuse will be. You'll just ignore the points I just made. Because that's all you can do. Because you can't make a rational argument. Alright, then Hofladay. Inmendum physics principle has no notion of charge or even force. That's all I keep talking about is force. And acceleration. So he's arguing that somewhere in my videos you haven't heard the word acceleration. I only use it all the time when I'm talking about electrons, like constantly talking about acceleration and deceleration. It's just too stupid, right? Neither does he have any theory, so he's claiming, making another one of his lying claims. Neither does he have any theory on why there be an electron, proton, and neutron of differing but specific masses. You're claiming there are these things. Okay? And how are these things measured? So my argument to you is you can't measure the mass of something in a charge field and say you know its mass. That doesn't make any sense. You're just weighing it then. You're not getting its mass. You're getting its weight. Weight is different than mass. You have to know how fast something was going to be able to distinguish mass from weight. Imbecile. And yet, out of the blue, he constantly uses these ideas as though he has developed them consistently from his theory. You've claimed I don't use the idea, and then you're claiming I'm using the idea. Okay, that doesn't make any sense either, which he has not. Which So somebody can tell me what that means, right? And yet, out of the blue, he constantly uses these ideas, as though he developed them consistently from his theory. They're part of the explanation, a description of reality. I mean, you want to call that the theory, fine, but it's a description of what the things are and what they do. His theory still predicts Galilean relativity and not Einstein's. Well, yes, because Einstein's relativity is retarded. So you explain to me that if I'm flying in a spaceship going that way, the speed of light, and I have a flashlight, you explain to me how the light gets from the end of the flashlight to the other side of the spaceship. Go ahead, explain it to me. And then explain how when I have the flashlight pointed in the direction I'm moving at the speed of light, how light comes out of the flashlight. Go ahead and explain how that's possible. Retard. Thus, the speed of light will depend on your relative movement. No, your theory is the one with the relativity shit in it. My theory is the one where light's always the same. It always moves the same amount of distance in the same amount of time all the time. Never changes in respect to it. Just another experimental evidence which he gets to deny ever happened. And where's your experimental evidence? Please provide it. Please show me where you have evidence of light going slower or faster, because that's what your theory requires. It's his go-to answer to any criticism. I don't even know what that is. What go-to? This is not even a. These aren't even rational sentences put together. Just another experimental evidence which he gets to deny ever happened. It's his go-to answer to any criticism. My go-to answer is to deny the experiment ever happened. So why don't you quote me doing that? You liar. I mean, you're just a fucking preposterous fucking liar. God, I'm calling you out. And like I said, this is a permanent record, motherfucker. You say this crap, this trash talking, alright, and you back it up with nothing. You're just a shit talker. Alright. His newest dream is so ridiculous. Well, that'll be backed up by absolutely no evidence. Yes, it's a live room, and yeah, I think it's really, there's not a single bit of it you're going to refute with anything. You weak-ass, lying pieces of scum. Don't know why they came up with that bent space time is relative thing. Exactly. So you think it makes rational sense to say the space bends and that tells the matter what to do, and then the matter bends the space and so that tells the space what to do. I mean, it's just idiotic. The matter communicates with the ghosts, and then the ghosts push things around. Little ghosts do it. Because right, in the real world there's no gravity to push things down in a well, so the ghosts have to push things, right? Because you don't have any other force to do it, right? The bent spaceites push the earth, right? Yeah, I was staring at the screen in awe. Okay, staring. He was staring at the screen in awe. Good. Yeah, maybe you'll get a crick in your neck and die. You useless pack of shit. Alright, so anyway, so I'll play some of the Pyrrho video, but I'm telling you, it was just absolutely nothing in this video. Just, there's nothing here. There's no content. There's no argument made. Relevant to anything. So he wastes this whole bit of shit on this stupid math crap, which was just totally obtuse, irrelevant. Who could care less? Didn't have anything to do with the subject. But he did make these specific claims, like I haven't talked about how magnetism works. When, I mean, just 2 videos ago, like, I drew this, which is basically the diagram of how the force goes through and it seems like if you can see these color differences, it's just kind of obvious that more blue is exposed. If you were to look at this from this angle down, you'd see more blue than you see green. And if you looked up from this angle, you'd see more green than blue. That's the basic mechanism that creates the pole. This is the polarizing filter. Just a bunch of magnets all lined up, going the same exact way, but it creates two poles. And then I've done all this crap with the electrons and the forces between the electrons and the proton, all these diagrams of the force that connects them, and he makes this claim. I haven't done any of this. I mean, it's just insipidly inaccurate. I mean, I would say it was insipidly inaccurate, but that's wrong. It's obviously a deliberate and willful lie. Because you can't be this accurate by accident. This inaccurate.
Side of relativity. Einstein merely said, wait, I could tell how fast you're going by shooting light at you. There should be a Doppler effect and should be able to...
Right, so he made this claim too that this all became clear to him because he did interferometer experiments. And he proved, like, Michelson-Morley. He couldn't even say the names right. He says Michelson-Morley instead of Michelson-Morley experiment. That just proves some more of his grand authority in this subject. And somehow that proves that light speed changes when you go into different frames. And that's not what it proves at all. You obviously can't see a difference in the speed of light if both your emitter and your receiver of the light are both moving. Then it doesn't work. One of them has to be out of the reference frame, or an interferometer isn't going to tell you whether you're moving or not. They only did the interferometer experiment to see if light was slowed down by ether moving, not moving, period. Idiot. You really are an idiot.
Tell, right? Like a water wave, when it's moving along in the water, if a boat can go the same speed as it, it can catch up and go ride, a surfer can ride that wave. And you can't do that with light.
Okay, so there you go. That's his argument. So his argument is if I'm moving half the speed of light in a direction, and I shoot light ahead of me, that somehow that light will still travel just as much distance ahead of me. It'll move just as fast as if I wasn't moving at all. That in a certain amount of time, that light will get a certain distance away from me that would be equal to if I was standing still, even though I'm moving half the speed of light in the same direction as the light is moving. He's saying that light doesn't pay any attention to the fact that I'm going half the speed of light. It just says, you're not doing that. You can't do that. I don't allow that to happen. I must go faster than you. I must go the speed of light ahead of you. So I must go the speed of light plus half the speed of light, because I must stay ahead of you. And you can never, 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 in any way ever, stay proportional. And my argument is, if I'm going 99% the speed of light, and I shine a flashlight ahead of me, the thing that pops out is only going to go 0.1% the speed of light. That's the only advantage it's going to have over me. It can't compete with the fact that I'm moving in the same direction. Velocity is dimensional. It's owned by the substance moving. The bits are moving. The fish are moving. If a school of fish is moving half the speed of light, okay, the speed of fish. Let's say the speed of fish is 30 miles an hour and it can't go any faster. And there's a school of fish moving half, okay, the speed of fish. So it's going 15 miles an hour. And it releases a fish going forward at the regular 30 miles an hour that is the speed of fish. You're telling me that the school of fish will be like it's going nowhere, and the fish will actually be traveling 45 miles an hour. The fish that can only go 30 miles an hour will actually be going 45 miles an hour. That's your ludicrous argument. You're the one saying the speed of light changes because some asshole who's shining a flashlight is moving. That now we can change the speed of light. You stupid idiots who think reality is what you perceive. No, it's not what you perceive. It's going to do what it does. And if I'm going the speed of light, the actual speed of light, and I shine a flashlight forward, there ain't going to be nothing coming out of the flashlight. Nothing. Zero. Nothing.
When you speed up...
Well, and the point is there ain't going to be, you can't move matter anywhere near the speed of light. It's not matter anymore. It's energy.
The light in front of you does not slow down.
No, it's not about the light slowing down. It's about the light going the speed of light. It can't go faster than the speed of light. So if you're running alongside of it at half the speed of light, then the light is only escaping you at half the speed of light. It's not going to arrive at the destination at some supersonic speed. It's going to arrive at the destination twice as fast as you. Okay? Not the speed of light faster than you, just twice as fast as you. Retard.
It just gets longer.
Oh, it gets longer. Yeah, that's another funny joke. Yes, frequency changes when you emit and receive. Okay, if I'm moving into a beam of light, I'm going to make the beam of light's frequency increase. If I'm moving away from it, I'm going to make its frequency decrease. And the same is true if I'm producing light. If I'm emitting light and I'm moving. So if I'm moving the speed of light, I can't even make light. Okay, because the frequency is going to be so compressed. There's no way I can do it. I'm just trying to think of what I'm producing. If I'm moving half the speed of light, you know, I end up shooting out radio waves, right? Yes, so because the wavelengths would end up getting, no, they'd have to get shorter. So I'd be shooting, like if I was shooting regular light, they'd end up being X-rays.
It stretches out. It changes its wavelength. How could that be?
It doesn't change. Nothing. No. The emitter and the receiver can emit wrong and receive wrong. But the stuff in between has a frequency and it's just stuck with that. Once you make an X-ray, it's a fucking X-ray. I mean, obviously, like I said, you can change it mechanically by moving into it. You can turn it into cosmic rays or you can turn into radio waves by moving fast enough. But you have to move really fast to substantially change the frequency. To change light into a radio wave, you'd have to go like half the speed of light. You'd have to go really, really fast. And matter can't do that.
The only way that could be in the equations that work is if time does something weird, and that's why...
Yeah, okay, so as long as you're the one saying it. Time has to do something weird, and matter has to do something weird, and atoms do something weird, and everything has to do something weird. That's your whole theory. It's a big pile of stupid, weird bullshit. Alright, we'll jump ahead.
...way, or not necessarily, but it would come out to the same answers. And so let's say...
Oh, so this is this math thing. Like, this will have nothing... I can't even explain to you how...
Let's say you have a box.
A box of numbers, and say 10 and 4, and there's 3 pops out, and 5 and 3, and 7 pops out. Nobody could care about this. So he goes on about this shit for at least 10 minutes. I mean, it's just such a waste.
2 additions and 1 multiplication will take less time.
Yeah, 2 additions and 1 multiplication takes less time than 3 divisions and 1 farticant. Who cares? What does this have to do with me? Oh, that's right. Absolutely nothing. Look, he's still showing a stupid picture of it. Like, hey, this is supposed to mean something to me. No, it doesn't mean anything. Absolutely nothing. It's the biggest pile of fucking goddamn shit. What does it have to do with gravity degrading by the inverse square rule? What does it have to do with all the forces obeying that same rule? Isn't that a coincidence? All the forces are moving the same speed, and they're all obeying the inverse square law. Gee, maybe that means something. Maybe. Idiots.
R and theta are very nice for some things. For one, it makes for a very simple equation for a circle.
Guess what? There isn't no circles, right? That's what pi proves, idiot. So there really aren't any perfect circles. There really are just probably at least, you know, objects. And the geometry of the real universe is probably all square geometry.
R equals 5. It's a circle. So those are alternates. And if the universe...
And what does this have to do with anything? Again, where is the circle versus square part of this argument significant? Where have I made any real effort to give a rat's ass? Oh, that's right. I haven't made any such effort.
The universe internally was one or the other. The universe was one or the other. If we couldn't figure that out, maybe there's a way you could figure out to pry that open to tell the difference. Right? But if it was a black box...
So this is all fascinating again. So let's see what he was talking about. The universe, I can't remember what he was saying there. The universe was a rabbit or the universe was a squirrel or something like that. How do you tell?
I find it incoherent.
Incoherent. So he finds the idea of particle gravity incoherent.
You can just find it's like a similar difference is...
I mean, they only have something called mock gravity. This is the context here, right? So it's so incoherent that the physicists actually use for demonstration purposes just because it simplifies the process so well. It makes the math so much easier and you have a working model. They actually use what's called mock gravity and turn it all into a particle gravity just because it expedites the entire process. Because it works. But he finds it incoherent. Yeah. Quantitizing gravity. Oh, that's incoherent. Because it's all about bendy wavy.
You can describe any point in a two-dimensional space either with an X and a Y, Cartesian style.
Well, we're not even talking about two-dimensional spaces, are we? We're saying basically the universe is three dimensions. And yes, I'll do a lot of describing in two dimensions just because that's the only way you can draw it rationally. So what does this have to do with anything? I need to know that you need 6 points of information. They've had that in movies, okay? I mean, that's already like a known fact. I need 6 bits of information to locate something in 3 dimensions. Who cares?
Or with an R and a theta.
No, with an R and a theta. This has absolutely, again, can you see how absolutely vacuous this is? I mean, in the sense that it's not a video about anything I'm doing.
Gonna do, right? So living animal metaphors don't really fit that great in physics right now.
Well, again, they're not living animal metaphors, right? Because I make the fish, I explicitly say, I say it, the fish are moving at constant speed, they can't be nudged, you either completely exchange direction or you don't do anything at all. I mean, I made the rules, so just keep pretending I didn't. And I'm really talking about actual slimy physical fish. No, I'm not.
Do they? No, they don't. Because we're supposed to explain exactly what's causing them to turn, not just say...
Okay, so bent space. So if you're going to pervert metaphors this grotesquely, then I'll just keep mocking the whole idea of bent space. You're using gravity to explain gravity. Oh, how fucktarded could you possibly be? Gee, what a dumb, ignorant motherfucker.
Well, it's a fish. It could turn when it likes.
Well, again, see, turn when it likes. Where did I make that anywhere in the metaphor? I said clearly the rules are it has to have this perpendicular thing has to happen. That's the rule, okay? I've only drawn picture after picture after picture of this stupid X drawing, which should be in this pile of drawings somewhere. There should be the X drawing somewhere. Well, you've seen it. I mean, I've only gone over this so many fucking times. So really, he can't possibly have watched my videos if he can see that if he can think I have under-argued the mechanics of the movements of electrons and protons, and the fact that the force has to hit them. That force imbalance is what moves the pattern through space. Nothing moves unless there's an imbalance somewhere. Oh, God, a pathetic asshole.
And then I know you're going to say, well, because it's not like that. Yeah. How did they get...
I don't know. I don't think I was going to say... I didn't know I was going to say something... No. Garble, 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 garble. I guess that's a good answer, though. Garble, garble. I mean, it's about as meaningless as the mush you're speaking here. Shit for brain.
And again, it doesn't necessarily matter, does it? Because it's all
okay, that's his whole theory here, right? So the bottom line, it doesn't even matter if I'm right, because who cares? Because we just care about the big picture input-output. So all knowing the actual truth and get the actual truth right, that doesn't mean anything. It's not important. Einstein was looking for that because Einstein was silly. I mean, Einstein wanted a unification theory just because he was silly. It wasn't because he thought this was somehow important. Asshole.
In a black box, you're not changing any of the predictions.
Again, this idea of your prediction crap, right? I think that you have now predicted that you can convert bent space into gravitational waves, which are, you've converted bent space into material energy. So you've broken Einstein's E equals mc squared, quite obviously, and all conservation laws, obviously, because there's not supposed to be energy in bent space that you can convert into regular light bulb energy, but somehow they did it. The black holes magically did it, and the black holes violated every rule of actual gravity to even become associated with each other and not collide. They actually got into a spin, which is really difficult to do. And I could just go on and on about your Higgs shit. Every piece of physics is just a big pile of steaming crap. Black, your dark matter to save your lensing, fucktarded, idiotic images. Your lenses that are 5 or 10 billion light years across. No, I mean million light years across. Even 10 light years across is a preposterously huge lens. How do you create that much gravity that consistently across that much space? Not possible. Magic dark matter. We'll fix it. It's like the Huygens glue, the dark matter glue. It's all glue. Your math predicts nothing. Your math says everything does this. Everything looks like this. We have math that makes everything look like this. You don't have math that looks like anything that's in the real world. Your predictions suck.
Right, and if the math fits the predictions, and your particles eventually do, which they won't.
Well, they already do. That's why it's called mock gravity, is because it mocks gravity perfectly. So obviously the math already has been verified to fit the model. And the only part of the mock gravity that didn't work is when you take it out of gravity and you move it through space and you realize, oh, it turns into a friction force. And I've already gotten rid of the friction by the stupid kinetic thing, retard. So yeah, I got rid of the heat problem, shit for brain, by making it kinetic. I've solved all the complaints you could have about a particle gravity. So why don't you tell me what the new complaint is? I've disposed of Feynman's objection. The raindrop argument is disposed of with kinetics. So what's your next argument against it, jackass? It only fits perfectly except for Feynman's objection. I've dealt with Feynman's objection, so tell me what's wrong with mock gravity now. Asshole.
Because different models constrain what mathematics can be used.
No, different models. It's not going to change the mathematics as a definition of the relationships that exist. You're not going to change the relationship. There's a relationship. So this part he does go into here with the slit opening. And so he starts talking about, I'll play that part. Because, yeah, he's just so fucking full of shit and wrong.
Your model ignores certain things like the relativity of motion. Like the fact that
yeah, there's no such thing. That's right. It doesn't ignore it. It just says there's no such thing as relative motion. It all is real motion. All of it. But you can't give a force momentum. Forces don't carry momentum. Forces are already moving as fast as they can, and they will not move more than one dimension at a time. They're not a force then. That's what matter does. Matter can move in more than one dimension at a time. Forces can't.
Pattern is not the same between 1 and 2 slits.
There we go. Okay, so forget about what Professor Lewin said. He's an asshole. He's only an MIT professor, so he's obviously an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So when he says it's not diffraction, he's just a fucktard.
It's merely related, the similarity.
Yeah, they're related in every possible way. They share 99% of the genome thing. I mean, you can't... the difference is minor. The single slit experiment has a bigger central maxima, and the double slit has bigger minimas. Ooh.
You might see are because they're related, and
yeah, they're related by having identical spacing between the bars, proportional to the wavelength of the light. Oh, that's not a significant relationship.
Even seem to accept diffraction around an edge.
And whatever that is, diffraction. So now we have new special stuff. Okay, so now it's diffractoiding. Okay, where it's Huygens. Okay, in the single split, it's Huygens. But in one surface, it's diffractorizing. And you'll explain to me the difference between a Huygenized and a diffractoid. Okay, so explain to me what a diffractoid is. How things diffractoid around surfaces. That's different than Huygensing around a surface.
Being a factor of how this stuff works. You don't understand.
No, you don't understand. You have an obligation to be sensible to words, and you can't just keep using them to define 4 different things, and you can't just compose sentences that overtly contradict yourself. Idiot.
That Huygens is about how a wave, that line or part of a circle, either one you ever see.
It's a circle, it's a line, it's a straight, it's crookedy, it doesn't matter. It's Huygens, it can be anything.
I mean, because I've been at the ocean.
I've been at the ocean, so this is physics again. We're talking about light, okay? The smallest quanta in the universe, and we're going to do that by... I've been at the ocean, and I've seen waves, and waves are completely different. Yeah, they're just like light. Waves are just like light.
Waves that look really straight, right?
It's a photon. It's not a wave, it's a photon.
So maybe it was straight. They're often crooked and jagged, whatever, but it's a line. The propagation of that wave is itself an interference pattern because waves are always interfering. Interfering is...
They're always interfering. So this all makes sense to somebody, right? This is rational physics.
When you have 2 waves that a human would identify as...
When you have 1 photon. We're not talking about when you have 2 waves. We're talking about when you have 1 photon and it's heading for 1 slit. How the fuck does it turn into 2 photons?
Separate how they pass through each other and what happens when they're overlapped. Right? And what Huygens was saying is that when a wave front is propagating along, that's the same thing. Why is that happening? Because the wave is actually all of these parts that are affecting their neighbors and moving.
Right, so a photon is really made out of a zillion onitons or boogitons or what? Gremlin-tons or unicorn-tons, right? And so it's a whole nother universe full of tons.
So it's like a cellular automata thing almost.
Except the wave somehow ends up in 1 spot as an on. Not an on-off, like in water waves, on-off, on-off. You know, up, down, up, down. Somehow the photon gets there as just a complete on. I'm a photon. Corpuscle. 100%.
And it propagates because of this effect, which relies on...
Yes, it propagates because there's an ether. Okay, we got it. I'm just another electric universe kook.
Interference at every single moment in its propagation.
And it creates a new universe every time. And in all those universes, I'm in there being an asshole. I'm like really dumb on every kind of subject. Like in one universe, I don't know anything about trees, and in the other universe, I don't know anything about, glasses of water, and I just, sit on them. And in another universe, I'm talking physics.
So I noticed diffraction lines are like interference lines. Well, you weren't...
I noticed Diffraction lines? What is a diffraction line? You still haven't explained the difference between a Huygens line and a diffraction line.
First ones were, you know, you're like 300 years late or some shit.
Yeah, why don't you show me Newton's theory? Because I don't think he had one, asshole.
That's why diffraction is proof.
Okay, so diffraction is proof. This thing called diffraction, whatever the fuck it's supposed to be. The magical diffracting thing that happens because of the stuffy whatever. You know, the photon just magically just turns for no reason whatsoever. No Huygens needed. It just diffracts because it thinks it's a good idea.
It's proof that something is wave-like. Because look, if you have an edge like this, no slit, where you would have a slit, you just cut the screen in half, and you have this. So this.
Yes. So you have a jetty. So this is his jetty theory of light, and it's really funny.
This is all open.
There we are, jetty, and the waves are coming this way.
Well, if you shoot particles at this edge, it's going to make a straight shadow. Some of them will...
It's going to make a straight shadow, except for the ones that aren't exactly straight. But yes, particles. I don't know what you mean by particles. Do you mean photons next to a piece of matter? Or do you mean bowling balls next to a piece of cellophane? What exactly are we talking about, asshole?
Some of the particles will bounce off inward, right? But none of them are going to diffract. None of them. None of these particles that hit the...
So you're saying none, and I would argue that no, there are some, but there's a lot fewer than when you have slits. And I've only said, like so many times, it's a charge field. You have to have the other slit because that's what's making... It's like an electric spark. You can't make something spark unless there's another plate with a charge on it in some kind of vicinity. If there's not close enough, there's no spark, idiot. Moron, idiot. The whole point is when you put two pieces of matter close to each other, the electrons go back and forth between them. They're starting to create lightning. See, the electrons are doing that. They're lining up with the charge differential, retard. So yeah, you don't have any, when you have no, if you have a very wide slit, then the surface, the electrons are tight to the surface. If you have two close surfaces, then the electrons expand into the space. That's like basic electric theory, retard.
That edge are going to bend in to the edge. But when you put a wavefront, coming along here, and it hits that edge, it does bend. It cones.
Right, so it's absolutely nothing like light again. So you're just proving my point. It doesn't just bend, it bends right around the corner. Where does your light do that? Your light doesn't do that. Your buckyballs aren't doing that. So it doesn't look like it's anything like a wave, does it? No. No. In the particle experiment, in the actual small object experiment, it behaves exactly as like it doesn't bend at all. It's nothing like water waves, again. So you're only proving my point, idiot.
And that's what light does. And
yes, it does what? It goes around the corner? No, it doesn't. Stick a jetty. The light doesn't go around the corner, idiot. So you see what he just did here? He's arguing as if water waves, again, prove something when they prove exactly the opposite. Water waves bends around the corner of the jetty. Light doesn't. And he's arguing as if it does.
Shotgun BBs don't do that.
Yeah, anything doesn't do that. That's exactly the point. But again, you're just ignored the argument that's been made, which I have made. I mean, I have explicitly talked about the fact that as you move the slit material together, moving two pieces of matter together means you're moving protons next to protons. I mean, you're moving them into vicinity of each other. And the protons have a very expansive field energy. It extends well past the atom.
But
that's what bonds atoms to atoms. Atoms, you can't just pull an atom off of your skin because they're bound to each other. That's how strong that extra force is. Idiot.
Light does, but not shotgun BBs. Not drops of water. If you ever saw something like that, it would be because in addition to the drops of water, there was wind pushing it around the corner. If it's just being...
Well, I mean, we've never really done the experiment with things of equal densities, right? So proportional density. So the mass of the matter of the slit compared to the mass of the photon is like a zillion to one. So I guess I'm arguing if you could create mass that is a zillion times heavier than a bowling ball, that the bowling ball might be influenced by the surface under that circumstance. Because it's basically the bowling ball falling into the earth. It would be so strong, the mass of the object. So if you use something that was actually a relevant comparison, the material slit versus the little tiny photon, the proportional electrodynamic, the quantum disproportionality of even just one atom compared to one photon. One atom to one photon is almost like that whole apple to the earth thing. It's a preposterously different mass equation, jackass. So if you could create a real physical thing where bullets actually had to go past something as massive proportionally as an atom is to a photon, then you'd probably see it get bent, jackass. But my theory still doesn't depend on it being force that's moving photons, because I don't think force can move photons, and we already know that electrons do. So the fucking photons are obviously hitting electrons between the two slits, you stupid schmuck.
Shot, it's going to be masked at that point. It's not going to cone out. When you have a slit, you can imagine, well, the ones bending out, they're bouncing off the other side of the slit. Yeah, well...
Oh, so he's talking about bouncing off slits. Again, nothing to do with my theory at all.
Diffraction doesn't take two sides. Diffraction happens with one side. And you can actually see...
Well, no, it doesn't. So that's the whole point. It doesn't... The point is that the effect is much more dramatic as you put more material close to each other, and that's critical to this. So I think I'm going to do a right angle slit and see what you get, because that'll be interesting. You know, the two surfaces not hitting each other but not on the same plane, and then maybe bring a needle in from the side. That might be really interesting. I got a new laser, so I should be able to do something interesting.
See the diffraction of light with your own eyes around a sharp edge.
Yeah, well, I can't. So that's a pretty neat trick. I mean, I can shine flashlights at shit all day long, and I don't think I'm going to see much diffraction, frankly. No, I don't see much. Didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But again, what's causing the diffraction? What's causing it to go around the corner? What's causing that? Diffraction. What's doing it? If Huygens isn't doing it, and, you know, then what's doing it?
There's a little blurry line where the light is a weird light effect that you could tell is diffraction.
Caused by what? What moves the light?
Anyway, too much time on that, probably.
Too much time on the idiotic numbers in a box thing here in the middle. This thing was something you could just do without. This, whatever this was. Yeah, you could have left that the fuck out of the video. The last part was good because you just point out how ignorant you are and how you can't even get the arguments at all correct. And jetties are nothing like buckyballs. You know, water waves don't do what buckyballs would do. Nothing alike. No similarity. Just more verification that has nothing to do with waves. So anyway. I just, you know, you people just can't be more obnoxious, trolly crap. And you're liars to boot. I mean, just to keep lying about what I have said and what my argument is and what my theory is. It's just disgusting. You disgusting lying slobs. So fucking rude. So, yeah, it's just so unacceptable. So fuck you, the 6 people that thumbed this up, this piece of shit video, this lying piece of shit. Why don't you man up and explain why you're defending a liar, you pussies? Oh, it's probably one of them's Hoffa-Day, another liar. And sure, it's this guy, so that's 2 liars. So yeah, we have 2 liars on the you know, 2 obvious liars. So anyway, it's disgusting. But you're stuck with it now. I'm just saying, it's okay. It's posterity. It's written in the history book. Okay, just how lame and rude and putrid your silly, stupid arguments are. They're unresearched. They're unauthoritative. They're qualified by nothing, and they're evidenced with nothing. No evidence at all provided. Nothing for me to debunk. 0. Okay, till next time.